Okay, here I have another video where I'm going to use the online app to help us find the promoter for GPX1. So up here I have the C3 file, which I've kind of indicated to you online. It has 2 genes on it, and we'd like to find where the second gene is. So one way to do that, just to find out maybe where both genes are, which is part of your R assignment, maybe we should just find where there's greater GC content and where there's less. So I've done this with a different app, but I haven't done it with this one. So one thing we can do is we can just look for high levels of CG. So I'm going to start with GC. GC occurs more often than CG. So I'm going to go GC, and I'm just going to search for it. So I'm going to put in GC with our C3 at the top, and then I'm going to search for it. And as you can see, it's all over the place. But if you look at this carefully, there are regions where it's denser in GC than others. You can kind of tell here there is a region where there's low GC, and then here is a region where it's higher GC, and then maybe less and more and less and more. One of these things that it should tell you is that there's probably the beginning of a gene, or this is right before a gene, in one of them. And in fact, that's exactly what you should find. This is definitely what we call a, well, we're going to see that it's also high in CG. This is a CPG island. So let's go back. This is using GC. Let's go back now. I'm going to hit reverse, and instead I'm going to put in CG, and let's see how it's different with CG than with GC. Much different. As you can see, there's much less CG than there is GC. There are a few here, and look here. Definitely, this is what we would call a CPG island. This is a good indicator that there is a gene nearby. Usually the CPG island is right before the transcription start site and the promoter. Probably your promoter is right in the middle. Now also we should expect higher GC content in exons than in introns. So if you were looking, you might say, hey, here's a region with very low GC content, or at least CG content. That might be different from a region here. This looks like a region that's higher. This is one, you can do the same thing up here perhaps. I don't want to give this one away, but this is the kind of thing you're looking for, but you need to do it with R. You can use this to support your arguments if you want to do something like this. So make sure you look at both GC and CG and kind of compare them. You might just record the number, how many did you find. Maybe you can take just part of this. Maybe you can just take this part, find the number of GC in that, take another part, find that, and if there are equal number of bases in each part that you take, maybe you take 10 lines, 10 lines, 10 lines, find the GC or CG content and make an argument that that region has a higher CG content. You could do something simple like that. I do want you to do it in R though as well, not just here. Alright, now let's go to, we did CG and GC content here. If you're going to look for a CPG island, you might want to do as I did in the other one, and something very rare is a C followed by a G. Much rarer than that is a C followed by G and then another C followed by G. It's a very rare thing, and I think I did this in a different video for you, but 2 CGs just doesn't happen normally, and wherever it does, they're probably going to be grouped, and this pretty much defines your your CPG island. This definitely tells you that this region in here is probably the beginning of your gene. Alright, as you can see, you do not find CG followed by CG anywhere else. This is telling you, hey, there's probably a gene right here, and indeed there is. Alright, that's the beginning of it. So let's go back. Now something else we can do, and I want to tell you about, is the promoter for this gene is not a TATA box that we've seen before, but it's called a GC box, and it does not have to be this exact sequence, GGGCGG. It just has to be close. There needs to be a C and some G's on either side. You could have some other C's in here, but generally it's a C surrounded by some G's, and it needs to be different than some of the surrounding. You might see heavy ATs on either side, that sort of thing. So let's see if we can't find the promoter for this one. I'm going to start with the exact sequence they gave, GGG, CGG. Does not have to be exactly that. Oops, need to make it capital here. And let's search. Well, you found 5 of these. Where did you find them? Of course, you found them in this region. These are likely the promoter for our gene. Let's see if we can find if they're in that CPG island. If I go back, let me go back. These are in the near, right before 5,000 up to 5,500. So, well, we'll just say 4,500 to 5,500. You might take out that piece and begin searching for your GC box. Let's see what that region did for where were my CGCGs? If you go back and look, they're also in that region. This is very strong evidence for our promoter being in this region, and you will need to figure out if, in fact, GGG, CGG is indeed your promoter. One of these is likely it. Let's move back and test it though. Let's take off one of the G's here and just see how many more we find if I take off that first G. We don't find many more, but look, we do find them in this region. Alright, we find this one scattered out here. Hey, they might occur 2 G's, a C and a G. It's only one CG. But look here, this is very strong. In fact, a double CG like this is probably a strong indicator. +1 over here. This is more than likely your promoter. You can make that argument in your paper. Let's do something else. It's GGC, GG, usually with another G over here. Let's see if one of these has another C here and a GG. I just know a little bit about this. Oops, that needs to be a G. Let's see if this occurs. No, this site didn't occur. It didn't. Kind of a double one. Let's see if we take that G off the end. We find one. No. Let's see here. Nope. Oh, there we go. Still nothing. All right. Well, definitely this. I would use this as your basis for your argument that one of these is the promoter. All right. Probably not that one. Could be any of these. Since we have a kind of a double down here, you might consider that one +1 right after it. It's a very strong idea that this is. But you have to put this in context with the rest of the sequence. Where is the CPG island? Where's the transcription start site? Where are the introns and exons? Everything does have to fit kind of in the right spot. So this particular region in here looks to be around 5,500. That's a little late for a transcription start site. So even though it's a little late for the promoter and to get the transcription start site in this one, I would look a little earlier. Certainly the first one is not the right one. Later on you might look around, but one of these is probably it, and I'll let you try and figure out where you think it might be.